Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Championship Leadership Podcast. And today, I'm excited we got Sam Harris here from the UK, and I've had a number of men and women from the UK now, which is kind of fun. So I guess I can call myself international. And but thanks for being here, Sam. I appreciate it, man.
That's all right. Great to be here with International Nate.
Well, I guess we could call you international too, right?
Mm.
Um, so I like asking this question first, just to really kind of get things going. It's Championship Leadership's the name of the podcast. What does championship leadership mean to you when you hear it?
Well, being from the UK, when I hear championship leadership, I immediately think of football.
Yeah,
So I kind of think that I need to be some kind of manager of a football team when I first hear that title,
yeah,
to be straight up with my honest answer. Uh,
absolutely.
I could go a bit deeper than think of like, okay, how to be a champion and sort of leading your team to be champion levels, and but being the person above that is sort
Yeah.
of more
What does
deeper thoughts.
leadership mean to you?
Oh yeah, leadership sort of, like leading by example, being at the front and sort of being what it is that you want everyone else to be, and being kind of hard on yourself a bit more, but at the same time being unharsh on other people and sort of allowing their mistakes and encouraging them to try things and fail, but sort of be honest and get the best out of them in a nice way, and generally stopping any areas of conflict and making everybody happy. I don't know. I think I could be a harsher leader in some ways, but I'm kind of, yeah, I like being nice to people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's a great thing about leadership is that there is no one way to lead, right? Like, and
Mm,
definitely, I think if you try to lead some way other than that's outside of who you actually truly are, that definitely doesn't work. So, because people, they just pick up on that, right? They can
mm,
see that or sniff it a mile away. So I think it's great that you don't do that from a standpoint of like, yeah, just because I'm a nice guy too, right? For the most part, but it doesn't mean I'm a pushover. So like, if I have to, I'll put my foot down and come hard if I need to. But typically,
mm.
I would be kind of that's I'm pretty easygoing, nice guy. Um, but yeah, I like that. That's those are some good thoughts. What is leadership? Leadership's a pretty big topic and um, piece of conversation, definitely here in the U.S. What is leadership is it big in the UK?
Yeah, definitely. We're a fan of leaders here. Certainly in this current time, it's been an interesting one to observe, like leaders of countries and how they're dealing with things, and feels like maybe Boris has sort of stepped up a bit compared to what we sort of were expecting of him for the next few years,
Yeah,
which is interesting. But certainly from I think in the same way that like kind of around the world, like it used to be more like rock stars in music, but it's become more of a focus of rock stars in business and this kind of stuff. It's like people becoming famous. So
yeah,
we like Elon Musk just as much as you guys do,
yeah,
but we've got like our own people that we're really big fans of, like
yeah,
Richard
yeah.
Branson, and
Of course.
like fans of Innocent and all these kind of things. So yeah, we certainly look up to these kinds of people who,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
show up.
yeah. I mean, it's not surprising that it would be similar there than it is here.
Yeah, I mean, sort of if you look at like philosophy and religion since like all history, like you've always kind of had some kind of thing that needed to lead humans, which is like a natural part of being a human, really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and kind of your background? You got a quite an interesting and diverse background of experiences. You have the Growth Mindset podcast, which has over 1 million downloads. Which I know you kind of. I don't know. I got the feeling that you kind of maybe didn't think that's as big of a deal as maybe I do,
Mm,
because there's a lot of podcasts that don't even sniff 1 million. Like they don't.
yeah, yeah, it's one of those weird like logarithm curves of sort of if you're getting more than like 500 a month or something, you're in like the top 1% of podcasts kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But then when you go into that 1%, it's like another like logarithm. Like you got Joe Rogan who gets sort of like millions a day, and you get like, so yeah, maybe I get like, I think my rate now, I think I have like 1 million about like every year and a half, technically speaking,
okay,
which is great. But then like I am, like Entrepreneur on Fire or something, he has like 1 million every few weeks on things, and you're sort of like, well, I'm still kind of very far away from that, and but it's still like really big compared to yeah. So it's a confusing one because you're always kind of wherever you're at, you're where you are, so you can see what's ahead of you, and you don't spend so much time looking behind. But like,
you're kind of like, you know, basketball is a big sport here in the U.S. and that would be kind of like a high school all-star basketball player himself to Michael Jordan or LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly.
World championship. Well, it's like you're still in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Day, right? They were there at one time too, but they didn't get to where they are overnight. So yeah. Perspective.
Yeah, and there's different ways of looking at it as well, because you can sort of break things down by like how much time you put into it, or sort of how old you are, kind of thing, and sort of, what you're doing it for as well. Because I'd certainly say like success isn't just like downloads. Sort of like my metric of success was initially just like network and like people that I got to speak to, and so I got to meet so many cool people when I was starting, even though I had like 0 downloads, and that was just awesome because that was sort of the point. And also, I mean, now if you look at my bio, I think I've done like stand-up comedy, I've done like TEDx speech, but then 3 years ago, like I genuinely found it very difficult even saying anything myself on my podcast. I was okay at asking questions quickly, but like even just trying to record the intro, I was like, whoa, it took me 6 months from recording my first podcast to actually releasing one, just because I couldn't get myself to do those things. And like I forced myself to I just hated phone conversations, or I could never leave an answer phone message, and so like I forced myself for a month to only send WhatsApp voice messages, just because I couldn't do it. And like my friends would be doing it sometimes, I would only have a text kind of thing. And so I just had to like get used to using my voice and things, because and I had like verbal dyslexia as a kid and basically just didn't talk much. And
how old are you?
I'm 29, so I'm slightly older than I look, but yeah, still not old.
29, I would have guessed somewhere in there, right? So yeah, well, tell us a little bit more. Like, how did you get to where you are today, and what you're up to as a podcaster, as a coach?
Yeah, so I studied psychology and biology at uni, and I started a business at the same time, which got me into the whole entrepreneurship journey, which I sold that one after a few years and like won some awards and things. And I guess since then I've kind of just naturally found myself coaching people. I guess before that even I was kind of giving advice to friends who just want to do something exciting with their life, because I like had a job for a bit, I had like a year off before uni, and I kind of went around Europe, got a job sailing around the Caribbean, drove around the States, and did lots of stupid stuff somehow, and got like ended up with more money than most of my friends that stayed at home having a job, even though I did like lots of stupid fun stuff. And so you just sort of end up with them, but how? And I was like, well, I guess I just sort of asked people about it and had conversations. And so the podcast was kind of like the conversations that I was having to help myself learn how to do things, but like more public, because instead of it just being like a one-way channel through me explaining my conversation to someone else, it was like, well, these are the conversations, and now you can do what you want because of like it teaches you. So that was sort of what was happening with the podcast. And then on the other side of things, I just carried on doing business. I traveled around the world for the last few years, running podcasts and starting different companies, most of which failed recently. But that's life. I've learned a few things about business partners and stuff, and yeah, it's been fun. And now starting a new business that's in podcasting. So it's like an app that lets you listen to podcasts with your friends. So like a social app. And so, because I just got really annoyed by the fact that you're always by yourself when you're listening, and you don't really know what your friends are listening to, and you can share things with them, but like there's like they have to find it and then download it, and then it'll go in their place, and like might just do it like a month later. You don't ever actually talk about the thing you just listened to, but sometimes you listen to something that's awesome and you want to talk about it, but you can't. Whereas if you have like a social app where like you're actually there when your friend's listening, you can listen live, or you can just like catch up really quickly. And so you actually talk about the thing when it's in your mind. And I just found that it's such an effective way to listen to books, is to be in a book club and actually talk about what you learned with someone, because you just learn so much more from what they learned, because they see different things that you didn't see. And in the same way that like if you study for an exam, you don't turn up to your lecture and then just never do anything till the exam. You study your lecture notes, you reread them, you answer questions on it, you talk with like your other colleagues, and like you do a lot more to become actually smart at something. So if you listen to a podcast about mindset or business and then you just never look at it again, you don't become good at it. Whereas if you like digest the information, you come up with the ideas and you share them with someone, and you like, or you maybe like even sort of set some targets together because you both heard the same thing, like it's so much more effective. So I guess that's kind of what I'm building with the app, is to try and sort of make people actually smarter from the stuff that they're doing, and also more social in like a more natural way. Because like social media is also really annoys me because I didn't really want to go on there and just talk about what I did. I'd rather just do things with people. Like that's how I'd be social. And I can do that. Like I could just listen to podcasts sort of with people at the same time. And it's like a natural way to just talk about what you are doing rather than showing off about what you did, which isn't really like nice for me. So yeah, that's like my current project.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, you're right. And there's so many podcasts out there, right? And
Yeah, there's so many podcasts that you just don't even know to listen to, but your friends are listening to, but
yep.
it's sort of faff to kind of get on board. But like if you had like a share playlist, you can discover like in a much better way.
Incredible idea. I love it. I love it. So can't wait to see how that goes for you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
We'll see. It might be another failure, but it's going well so far.
You know, who knows? But you definitely learn lessons no matter what through that process, which is the amazing.
So, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Who are some of the championship leaders or coaches, mentors, maybe directly, indirectly, that have impacted you, and less about who they are, but more about like what is it about them that stands out? So maybe some of the leadership characteristics that really have helped you, and maybe even that you've taken to help mold who you are as a leader.
Well, I guess like the first one that springs to mind actually is like the anti-leader, which is sort of what drove me to be an entrepreneur, was when I was a lifeguard as like a 16-year-old, and sort of I was quite good at optimizing my time to do minimal work, but like get all my tasks done and sort of still close early. And then I had this boss who just sort of was the opposite of she just make me do things just so that I would be doing stuff. And you'd like, if I was going to clean in like 2 hours time, she'd be like, well, clean now and then clean again. I was like, but no, like it's not going to be optimal levels of clean. And this is just a waste of my time, and just super annoyed me. And then she just didn't seem to have logic around things. And it's just like, you know, when you're like with someone that just isn't as clever as you are then, and she just, it was very frustrating having to do something for someone and being like,
yeah. So did that come like, man, I never want to work for anyone because.
Yeah, pretty much. I just didn't like the idea of like someone having power over to tell me what to do that wasn't like in my interest. So I've always been the same with like teachers and things. So I was quite dyslexic. I didn't always learn the same way as other kids. So initially, most of my teachers nearly all hated me, but they sort of realized that I wasn't being naughty or anything, and I actually had the intention of learning and stuff. I just did it in a different way, and like I wouldn't try and like distract other people, even if I was like in my own world. And like usually after about 3 months, I'd usually become like one of their favorites because like I'd always do really good stuff and things just in my own way. And like the same with like bosses that don't let you like get the results, but in the way that you want them. It's just sort of very off-putting. So it definitely inspired me to be like, actually, I can achieve results, just not in the way that people expect it. But I could just do this for myself anyway. And sort of made me want to be a leader, and two, lead people in ways that work for them, and be open to the fact that I don't always know the best way, and realize that people have different styles of working, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was quite useful, just as like a forcing function of like, I hate this so much and I don't want to be doing this.
Yeah.
Then I did, I've done a few, I haven't really had like ever like a long-term job for more than like 4 months, but I've done like a series of like just being in different companies just to see what they were like. So I worked for like an AI company for a while that like measured human emotions. And I kind of just like hustled my way in there as, I don't know, I just said I'd come and work for free for a few weeks just because it was super interesting. And I ended up kind of just bum tagging the CEO and just helping him with everything. Because they're quite a small company at the time. And I ended up sort of help managing the dev team and sort of doing all the product managing and stuff and making sales and kind of just a bit of everything. And it was just like such a good lesson in entrepreneurship. And he was a really good talker, and he was really transparent with everyone. And he was really like willing to kind of just let me do things in my way. And yeah, he was just a really, really good leader in terms of like showing up. And like so many things went wrong and he had loads of problems, but he was just so like balls out about it and sort of constantly letting you know where you were as an employee and what you're buying into by like working there. And so yeah, he really quite inspired me in terms of who I'd wanted to be as a leader kind of thing. And certainly like it was kind of a joy working for him, even though like I said, like I didn't want to work for you kind of thing. So yeah, I think he was probably one of the best effects I've had
I think
as
that's big.
someone I've worked for directly.
I love the fact that you like, well, first the anti-leader, right? Because I think we all are leading whether we realize it or not, and it just depends.
Mm,
You could either be leading the way that like I definitely do not want to be that person, and so I'm going to take that and help it to be the leader that I am, and then also to be around this other gentleman that you're talking about that in the AI
yeah,
company.
Matt, if you wanted to know his name.
Yeah, and it's just like you kind of go and do anything for a guy because of who they are as the leader, right? They just
Yeah,
to
you believe in them and stuff.
to pull more out of yourself than I think that you can pull out of yourself at sometimes, right? I think that's really, I think a championship leader, that's what I think of, like, man, they get you to really like maximize the potential or the capacity that you really have.
Mm. Yeah, I talk a lot about like kindness on my show, and sort of one of the best answers has definitely been like kind of sort of giving people a chance they didn't even realize they were ready for kind of things. And so like people sort of, you don't have to have qualifications or something to do something. Often you just need like the push to do something you've never done before, and having the ability to kind of go and do something where you probably will get it wrong, but you'll learn super fast and like become really good at something quite quickly. And people giving those opportunities is just like really huge and nice. And so yeah, trying to do that when you can is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's the vision for you? I talk about championship leaders having incredible visions, but not only the incredible vision, right? The things like as far as being able to see things, like I think you said Elon Musk. I don't know if that was when we started the show or right before,
Yeah, it's definitely.
but he's got this incredible vision that like almost no one else can see, right? And so most people would have the tendency, because if you can't understand it or see it yourself, sometimes you think that person is kind of crazy, right?
Mm.
Not only do they have that vision, but they also have the courage to execute on it, which obviously, again, I think I've never used him as an example, but he's a great example in this. So
Yeah, definitely.
he's
Is
got the ideas and then he
mental
goes
goals
and
and
he
just
executes
shooting
them
for
into
them.
action.
Mm.
So, what's a vision for you on, what you want to do and the impact you want to make moving forward, maybe short term, next 5 years?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, long term, I'm super into like the environment and
Uh-huh.
getting more into like politics and sort of equality and like epic things. But short term, I guess it's sort of as in once you kind of wherever you are, you can kind of look back at your story. It kind of makes sense to how you got there. But like at the time, you sort of see like you're going in circles.
Yeah.
So I definitely like to try and just be more consistent. So like having the podcast is like my permanent side hustle. It's just sort of it's like a constantly growing, useful thing to be doing, and then sort of just working on ideas that generally satisfy some of my own itch and help make people like wiser and happier is like my general kind of two things that I'm aiming for. So whether that's through like health or encouragement to start a business, or like my podcasts on sort of just making you like smarter in these things. There's a good, and so like the current business like Syncify is basically just to kind of make people wiser through like peer-to-peer learning and stuff, and happier through being more social and getting more out of the things that they already do. So these are kind of my goals. Well, the general kind of mission-y things, and sort of goals are like, I guess I super look up to like Bill Gates and Elon Musk that have been able to earn lots of money and then just focus purely on like bigger philanthropy. So like, it's currently a business of purpose, but also it's sort of got the Audible model behind it, which is just like super profitable. And if I can make it work, would be awesome. And I'd love to have some millions behind me to kind of just go follow my sort of more crazier ideas of just stuff that would be hard to like raise money or commercialize instantly, but would just sort of do useful stuff for the world. Because yeah, I've studied lots of things in science and psychology, and would like to work on the world a bit more.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. What's a fork in the road moment for you, like a critical moment where you kind of you either go right or left, and you did make the decision that you did because, of course, you're here today where you're at. But had you not, you could be in a very different place in your life. Is there a moment that really kind of sticks out, that fork in the road where?
They're weird because, like, technically speaking, it's so like every single thing you do is sort of like a fork in the road. Like, if you just have like one slightly different pass in the football match, it could still completely change the rest of the match of like the game. But trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I remember on my gap year, I was employed to sail around. Like, I kind of went out there on a whim. I just sort of found this guy online that was like sailing his yacht and needed someone to help, and he did lots of surfing. He sounds super cool, so I went and joined him. But then he was really abusive, so I left after like a week and just randomly looked for like work or some way to get out of the Caribbean, and just didn't tell my mum because she'd obviously be like kind of worried. And like after 2 days, I literally found a job earning like quite a lot a day, just sailing on this like rich millionaire's yacht and having a nice time. And it was great because I was young and sort of able to deal with hangovers. So I went out, like, they took me to all these nice restaurants, and I just went drinking with them every night. And like, I had like the lifestyle that I definitely had no chance of being able to afford myself, but got paid for it, and just had to wake up in the morning with a hangover and deal with their hangovers that were worse than mine. And that was fine. I could just make some smoothies in the morning and like do some sailing. Like, it was brilliant. And I was there like, I'm kind of, what's the point of doing all this work to hopefully become so rich that I can own a yacht and do this thing that I'm already doing? And I was a bit confused as to what the point was of like going to university and all this stuff. And I had a bit of an existential moment for a while, and eventually was like, well, everyone else does uni, I guess, and like it's a thing, and so I'll do it. And then if it's boring, I'll leave and come back to doing this whole yacht thing. And I'm still not 100% convinced that was the best decision. But yeah, I got to uni, but then by then I guess I was a bit bored of partying the whole time, and I don't know, I had a bit more life experience than the people that had started like fresh. It's like they were like literally just turned 18, and I was there like 21, having like done lots of stuff and didn't really feel like drinking, so I started my business, and then I kind of sent me on this whole other path. So yeah, that was a decision. That was sort of life.
Example, I mean,
moment.
Number one, to go say that you're going to go sail around the world or whatever with this guy, and then you realize really quick that the dude's kind of a douche. And
yeah, I was like, this is a big mistake. Well,
I think many people would have actually just stayed in that situation, and you actually are like, now I'm out of here, even though you really know what you're going to do. It turns into working for this millionaire on the yacht and partying, and then realizing like, I can do this without having the millions. What a great perspective that is too, to be like, man, so many people like kind of they sacrifice their life to get to that point, and you're like, I think you need to do that actually.
Yeah, it's a funny one. We just sort of like live the life of like what you're told a life should be, kind of thing, and just follow the path. And never been, as in, I guess like I spoke about, never learning the same way as other people. I've always seen what the path is for people and just been like, well, I can walk on it if I want, or like go somewhere else. I kind of always just been like a bit on the edge and just doing my own weird thing. And if something works for me, like I'll do it, whether it's like the normal thing or not. And yeah.
No, that's great. I love it. Yeah, thank you for that. I think more of us, because to walk the path that everybody else walks, it's safe, right? Outside looking in, it seems or feels safe. Although
but
you can argue that when you get later out of life, you probably end up having a lot of regret. That, man, I wish I would have been a little off the path.
Yeah, definitely. That is one of the things that sort of made me go on traveling, was sort of talking to people about like things that I could maybe do. And so many of us like, oh, I wish I'd done this when I was young. I was like, I didn't want to be the person that said I wish. I want to be the person that said, oh, I did this when I was young. It was like, screw it, kind of thing. And I just think there's certainly a lot of ways to just understand a bit more about yourself. And it was a bit of a weird moment to say like this is really profound, but like this Christmas we were playing Pictionary, where you sort of, you have to like draw the thing and try and get people to guess. And it's like it's a game, and the goal of the game is to have fun, right?
Yeah.
And there's a series of rules to make you have fun. But like the best moment in that game was when my father-in-law, like, he just sort of had the worst 5 minutes of his life, just messing it up, and then like I don't know, he sort of farted halfway through, and then he just drew this weirdest like set of things, and it turns out the word was pear, and you're like, why didn't you just draw a pear? Like, what the fuck was going on, mate? But it was like the most hilarious 5 minutes. It just created memories, and we had so much more fun.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, well, why the hell am I trying to like win this game? And I keep on sort of just going, and like, I get it, and like I sit down after like 20 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Why don't I just pick like the hardest word on this card and just like, and so it ended up taking me way longer, but I just stood there like having a lot more fun, not really caring if I won the game by like the metrics of if has the game won, but just like how much time can I spend having fun, standing up here, drawing stupid pictures, and sort of just thinking like, well, what was the point of this game? The point of the game was for me to have fun, so let's have the most amount of fun, as opposed to let's just follow the rules as the rules state on the card. And like, I mean, this is the point of life, surely, is to just sort of make up rules that work for you rather than just following rules that happen to already exist.
Right. Yeah. I love it. What
Hmm.
as we start to wrap up here, what would be one or two things that you could share with the listeners that, if they're to implement today into their life, it would help them move forward today?
Hmm. Um, one of the really good pieces of advice that just happens to be kind of relevant for me at the moment, I guess, was I spoke to a guest who said that if you could bottle urgency, you'd become like a billionaire. And I launched a Kickstarter for my project a few weeks ago, and it just added so much urgency because I've been talking about this book idea for like a few years, to be honest. And I started working on it like properly, like in my head full time about 3 months ago. And then having started the Kickstarter, I was just like, shit, I've literally tripled my output. And also with my podcast, I put in so many more systems and things just to make that like into more of a machine, just because of I was like getting away with not doing it properly. And like I just haven't got time for that now. And I'm trying to like run a business. And so I'm doing like all of the marketing and everything. And so it's like a huge project running that side of it. And then I don't currently have a CTO, so I'm running the entire dev team as well, which is like another whole full-time job. And I'm running my podcast plus another podcast. And like I'm just doing so many things on like overload, but there's just urgency behind it, and you just make time and things happen when you sort of put like some backing. So if you kind of make something public or just have something behind you that forces you to be more urgent, like it just massively increases your capability to do stuff. And you
Yeah.
can sort of sit there like not having time to make a decision or just sort of fanning your time around, like if you don't put some urgency behind it. So just finding a way to make something feel urgent is just insane. And yeah, so it doesn't necessarily tell you how to do it, but like if you have a project, like tell people that you're doing it, or like put it on Kickstarter, or
Right.
like use the Stick app where you kind of donate money to an anti-charity if you haven't hit your goals for that week or something, and have someone that's accountable for you. There's just so many ways to sort of force yourself to do stuff. And like I think it's much more effective than just sort of having rewards. Like there's like the analogy of like the donkey and the carrot, and like how many people have you ever seen with a carrot in front of a donkey trying to get them up a hill? Whereas how many like people have you seen hitting a donkey? Like they hit the donkey because that's what actually works.
Yeah.
And so like actually realizing that when you sort of put something behind you that's going to force you to do it, it's much more likely than just sort of being like, oh, it would be great if you ran this business and made you a millionaire one day, maybe.
Yeah.
Like the option was always there, but you didn't take it. So why don't you like force yourself from behind instead? And yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. If we could bottle urgency, that would be amazing. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's for the listener. How what are some ways is what we're trying to say that you could bottle, so essentially kind of quote unquote bottle urgency to like just put your life into hyperspeed and be super
Mm.
intentional. Right. So I love it.
So some good ways. Well, it depends on what you're doing, but certainly always just talking people at the outset is saying that you're doing something. So there's a very big difference between in your head saying that you're going to be an entrepreneur or something versus like telling people I'm starting this, or if like you're a failure if you tell someone that you're going to lose 5 pounds and you don't. Whereas if you're in your head being like, oh, it'll be good to start a diet this week, and then you sort of don't, like no one really knows. It's not really like an acknowledged failing. So firstly, it's just talking about it, which sort of relates to my app about if you listen to a podcast that gives you an inspiration to do something, but you actually talk about it, it's much more likely to happen. And then trying to do something like much bigger, like sort of bold moves, like 10x goals kind of thing. So starting a Kickstarter that has like an ambitious target or something that forces you to be like, okay, well, how am I going to raise this 20 grand and who's going to come in? Because that's not just going to come from my friends. I'm going to have to like put a load of press releases out. I'm going to have to like do a PR. I'm going to have to like get on podcasts. You know, you're going to have to do like loads of shit to like make that kind of happen. So yeah, just force yourself to do things that are like a bit beyond your capabilities currently, and then you'll find yourself. So in the same way that like I spoke about, like you having a boss that will give you opportunities that you're not quite ready for, like give yourself opportunities that you're not quite ready for, and like maybe you will be ready if you sort of force it. And that's where these things come from, I guess. So trying to find things like that, or like I mentioned, the Stick app, where you sort of have an anti-charity that where you write like your goals are and you have an accountability partner, and if you don't reach it, like your money goes to like the anti-environment charity or like a Nazi party or something really shit, and like you don't want that to happen, so you make yourself absolutely do the thing. So yeah, hopefully people use the app but don't end up giving money to the bad things and make their lives better, rather than just this end up with like a load of people giving money to terrible things. So that would be awful.
I love it. No, that's great. I appreciate it. And anyway, what are some of the best ways to find you, your podcast, or anything else that you got going on?
So you can find me if you like Google Sam Webster Harris. My blog comes up. You can find me on Instagram, Sam Jam Snaps. LinkedIn, I think, will be in the show notes. And then like the app that I've been speaking about is called Syncify. So you can I think go to getsyncify.com, or we're currently running a Kickstarter, so you can get like lots of money off if you sign up for a reward at the moment, which would be nice. And yeah, the Growth Mindset podcast. That was the podcast that I run. Also, I do see many things we've established.
So I appreciate you coming on today, Sam. Thank you so much, and look forward to coming on your show as well. So
yeah, looking forward to that. So listeners can tune in, hear more about you.
Yeah. All right, my man. Have a good day.
You too.